Okay, good morning, young people. So if you're on this 1-3D, this discipleship thing, so every morning at 6:30 you're going to get one of these in your Instagram feed. I'll try and figure out a way to tag you in it so you know that it's there. But today, last night, Sunday, we looked at Hosea, and we talked about how we're going to do this, and then we looked at verses 1 through 3 together. And we went through the whole SOAP method: scripture, observation, application, and then a prayer. So today, this morning, today you're supposed to, at some point during this day, look at verses 4 and 5. It's just two verses that you need to look at. And I'm going to read them for you right now, but I want to encourage you, find some time to sit and read these verses, okay? And it says in Hosea chapter 1, verses 4 and 5, this: "And the Lord said to him, call his name Jezreel." Now this is the child that he had with Gomer. "For in just a little while I will punish the house of Jehu for the blood of Jezreel. And I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. And on that day I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel." Now those are a lot of names that you probably don't understand or have any knowledge of why God told Hosea to call his firstborn Jezreel, and what happened in the valley of Jezreel, and what is this about the bow of Israel. We don't understand some of the stuff that's going on in here, but Hosea would have understood it, and the people who read this would have known exactly what Hosea was referring to. But I want to tell you, when you're doing your study, you look through there, and what some of the things that you might get after reading your scripture, your S part of your SOAP. One of the things you might observe, and I'll give you some background here in a minute, but one of the things you might observe, even on your own, even not knowing what some of these things are and what they mean, that God chooses Hosea, and he chooses Jezreel, Hosea's child, for a specific reason, because he's trying to warn the people of Israel that there's a comeuppance coming, there's a punishment coming for something that has happened in the past. And so what we can infer from that is not only is God faithful to his word, if he says something's going to happen, it's going to happen, but he's also a compassionate God. He doesn't let it sneak up on him. He doesn't come in the middle of the night. He warns them that this is going to happen. So I'm going to come and punish the house of Jehu for the blood of Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. So I'm going to actually end the kingdom of Israel. And we talked last night about how Israel's the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Judah, and how dramatic that is, kind of like a giant soap opera. But on that day, I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. So Jezreel was a place, but it was also the name of Hosea's son. There's other people named Jezreel, other towns named Jezreel, but the valley of Jezreel was where that was supposed to take place. And so we see the compassion of God, even though at the same time we see the justice of God, is something that we can observe in even these scriptures. Even when we don't have all of the information and the details on it, we can observe that. So what might our application be? Our application, well, in the first place, is don't do anything you're going to get in trouble for in the long run, which is another promise that Scripture gives us. But we should listen when God gets on to us, because a lot of times when we feel like we're getting in trouble for something, we just get defensive and reject it outright. But when our parents discipline us, when our teachers discipline us, and we get in trouble for doing something, it's usually not just to get you back for something you did wrong. That's not really the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to keep you from doing wrong in the future. Okay? And so that's an application we can make. So the S, the scripture, the observation about the compassion and mercy of God, even though there's justice being done. But the application is, I don't want to be in that position. I need to be more obedient to God. I need to be more obedient to my authorities. I need to listen to my parents. So that could be an observation that you write down in your study. Well, then what might your prayer be? And you could pray something simple, a one-sentence prayer. God, help me learn to obey. That's simple. Help me learn to obey. And the implication being that when you're obedient, you don't get in trouble. So, that is your morning Devo with Dave. I will see you tomorrow, same time. Bye.